It's Aaron and Simon with Assets and Arbitrage. I don't know what's going on, but we're having trouble with the platform. So hopefully this is coming in clear to everybody. Just a few quick updates. We're not going to be long today because we have to run out in about 30-40 minutes.
Okay, like we say, welcome everyone on this Friday. We just wanted to give you guys some updates, end of the week updates, really on some precious metals and Bitcoin, and we just look at a few charts. And I have a couple articles, but we might not get to them, but they're there. But as we always say, stay stacking, stay stacking, stay stacking. Whether it's your ounces or your satoshis, you want to be stacking. And this is one of those good weeks where we're happy that we have been stacking, and we're going to get right into that and go over a couple charts. I had some closeout charts for this week, and we're going to talk about something. We're going to talk about the yield curve real quick. So we have something that's called the yield curve, and we'll go over that, and then what looks like, if you look at the chart, is a inverse yield curve the coming inverse yield curve, and had a 2-minute explanation of what that is, and so people can understand the macro. So a yield curve really is about your macro view of maybe some things that you want to invest in or position yourself on a larger scale level. Mm-hmm. But so that's what I had in store. I didn't know anything you had wanted to speak on or anything like that?
No, I haven't.
All right. Well, we got a few people in the room.
I don't know who's in the room because.
Okay.
So I'm not sure yet. But let's go ahead and get to the article.
All right.
But it's not a video.
You have a video right there, but the video I wanted to show was on Twitter. That guy, he broke it down real quick and real fast with a chart.
So this is the video you want to play?
No, the one I want to play is on Twitter. I was going to read the definition first and then play the video.
Okay.
If that's okay.
Okay.
All right. Can you read it or?
Yeah, I can do it.
It's kind of blurry from way back here.
So what is an inverted yield curve? An inverted yield curve shows that the long-term U.S. Treasury debt interest rates are less than the short-term interest rates. When the yield curve is inverted, yields decrease the farther out the maturity date is. Sometimes referred to as negative yield curve, the inverted yield curve has proven to be a reliable indicator of a recession. So let's head over to Twitter so you can see the actual video. Okay. Is this one?
Yeah, if you just go to Twitter and then there's a video, it's going to be down a little bit.
Is this it?
No, you just got it. I don't know what this is. So I'll come back to those because they're important. Sorry, guys, we're going to come back. This is it right here. So I need to open and expand it. So let's pause it, take it back.
I'll do it.
Okay.
This right here, this is our future. And in case you're wondering what this is an inflation chart from the 1970s overlaid with an inflation chart from the 2020s. And I find it to be really interesting that we're pretty much at the bottom on this chart. And on September 18th, the Federal Reserve is most likely going to start lowering rates. And as of right now, according to the CME FedWatch, there's a 47% chance that they're going to lower rates by 50 basis points, just in time for us to reach this period of, transitory inflation 2.0. And then we're off to the races to where we see inflation peak above 10%. And then looking at M2 money supply, it seems to align with this thought pretty well, as we peaked in 2022, had some tightening going on, but now we're flipping positive again, and we're going to put in a new all-time high. And then I would suspect at some point, maybe in late 2025, early 2026, we would see a level of debasement similar to what we saw here after the COVID crash and into 2021. This is our new drug. 1971, it was depegging the US dollar from gold. 2008, it was the introduction of quantitative easing. 2020, it was the introduction of a level of debasement that we've never seen before. And right now, I'm quite certain that the Federal Reserve doesn't think we're going to need to do something like that again. But this is our new drug, which leads to even higher inflation than what we saw in 2021 going into 2022. So it's one of those weird things. I know that some people are calling for something worse than the Great Depression to come. But what I think this scenario provides is actually more like a great gaslighting to where people are reeling even more so than they're reeling right now. And it gets more and more difficult for everyday people who don't have regular assets that appreciate in value over time. They're just going to continue to suffer, but suffer even more. And it's going to be one of these economic environments where Bitcoin is skyrocketing, the stock market's putting in new all-time highs. And so it feels like to the people who make decisions that the economy is roaring, but the average person is just even more so just getting sucked into this quicksand. So for those people who don't actually matter to the elites, it's going to feel like the Great Depression, but they're going to be gaslit into thinking that everything's okay when they know for sure that everything's not okay. And unfortunately, I think that there's going to be multiple cycles of this. You know, we had the great debasement of 2020 going into 2021, the next great debasement in 2025, maybe 2026. And then after that, maybe a third round, maybe a fourth round after that. Round and round we go while the financially uneducated suffer dramatically.
Okay.
Okay, family, that was a great breakdown. Where he was talking about the yield curve inversion. He showed you some good charts with the M2 money supply as well. But one of the main important things that he said was people who don't save their money in real assets. And that's a good segue to what we wanted to talk about today. So if you guys have been following the charts of the day, you've seen that there was a nice, I think gold and silver shot up really well today, as well did Bitcoin. And those are what we call real assets. A shout out to T Will Line. That's the homie, man. He's in the building. We got real assets that we're talking about. And just wanted to go over a couple charts. A few.
Back. Here we go.
Yeah, sorry about
Um,
that.
Let me see. There you go.
All right, so here's a basic chart, a line chart that we use from appnext.com. You can get charts from anywhere, but we want to just look at what the price action was today. So you see today, I'm sorry, I'm
Come on,
scooting in a
nobody.
little bit just so I can see a little bit better. So we've been kind of hanging out in this $28 to $29 range. Now remember, $30 is a hard resistance for silver pricing. So when you see today that spike up over $30, where it closed at what 30.95, I think it closed. So right there at 31. But it is above its resistance. So what you always want to sit back and see is it going to flip resistance to support? So that's what we want to see. But you see that also we'll go over here. So silver is up 3.15% today. And I know for people who like to be into altcoins, Bitcoin, that's not a big percentage change, but in the precious metal markets, in one day, 3.15% 1.5% movement is huge. So we have to understand that. And once again, as our good friend of the CEO Andy Shackman would say, your precious metals are your wealth, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of analysts will tell you that precious metals will save your purchasing power. So maybe not as much of an investment, right? But more of a way to save the money that you earned. So let's go over these charts real quick. Let's go over a little time period. Let's do 5 years, which is if it will load. Doesn't look like it wants to load. All right, but in 1 week you can tell that silver is up 9.71% in 1 week. That's so over the time, over 1 month, it's up 10.81%. But let's go over 5 years. So let's have a macro view. So over 5 years, you can see that the silver price is up 98.65%. So what does that mean? It means you almost would have doubled your money. But here's the thing about preserving your purchasing power. Say in 5 years, 5 years ago, you would have put $1,000 into silver instead of your checking account, which is going to give you 25 basis points. Or instead of keeping it in a shoebox at home or under your mattress. So you put $1,000 into silver. Over 5 years, that $1,000 now spends like $2,000, roughly speaking. And that is how you keep your purchasing power against inflation, right? Because if you just kept $1,000 in your shoebox, like some of the old school people did, you still just have $1,000, but it wouldn't spend like $1,000. So this is what keeping your purchasing power is really about, and you still doubled your money in that regard. So we talk about these arbitrages. Now, if you were able to keep your purchasing power, double your money, and maybe take it to a place where everything is cheaper, now you see you're getting arbitrage on top of arbitrage. And that's what we talk about. Just finding the arbitrage. And it's not always easy, but it's out here. It's out here for us to find. So that's what we like to talk about every week. Let's go over gold, because gold is it's the standard. It's up 3.3% for the week. If you see the chart, you see a nice little jump right here on what day is this here? Can't tell. So September 12th, you're seeing a nice jump up right there. So you got a 3% increase over 1 week, which is a lot for gold. And let's just extrapolate this out. We'll go to 1 year. 1 year is always good. Over 1 year, you see that you have 32.68% increase in gold. So 1 year ago, gold was probably looks like about a little bit over $1,900. Now it's pushing in close to $2,600, and that's a great return on investment, especially if you're trying to retain your purchasing power, because that's what it's about. There's some people. I don't want to go too far down this rack, but there's some people will try to. You hear about it on social media. People want 10 baggers, 100 baggers. Everybody's trying to hit a grand slam, but overnight. But there's people with a lot of capital really are trying to protect it over long. That's the conversion that their money in those treasury bonds term. And if you see a yield curve inversion, that is a indicator to the big capital and the big players in the market where the market may be going. So you have to sometimes have this macro view, and slow and steady wins the race. I wanted to show you this also, the Bitcoin chart.
Oh, Bitcoin chart.
But let's say what's up to the family. I'm
Hi,
sorry,
cousin
family.
Jake. Hi, cousin BK.
What's up?
Crypto.
What's up, family? Everybody's
Let freedom ring. Thank you all for joining. You said the Bitcoin chart.
Yeah, just wanted to show just an overlay, just kind of go over that chart real easy. You see,
Like the one on Google.
Yeah, that same one. It's to say I think it's already there, but
it's not. That's why I was asking. This?
No, that's the other one. It might have got closed out.
This one?
Yeah. So
okay, but
you
hold
see
on,
there,
they're not saying anything.
See the price of Bitcoin, and it popped up this today over 60,000. So right now, as we're looking at it, and this is a basic line chart once again. I'm not going to get too technical with any bar charts or anything like that, but just a basic line chart so that you can see what we see today. 60,560 is what it is right now. That's a 4% jump in one day. That's great gains. We love that. 5 day, we're having some problems over the 5 day, but you're still getting a 10% gain over 5 days. And that's a lot. When you have your money in there, you kind of sit back and watch a pro low time because that's where we like to see it. So bang, 1 year you got a 130.9% increase in 1 year. So that means on this date, September 13th, 2023, the price of Bitcoin was 26,227. And look what the price is today. That's why we always talk about having that low time preference, because we'll come back and do this show 1 year from now and Bitcoin could be who knows what price. And that's why you want to have that. And I was going to show them the 5 year, 5 year, just so people understand. You're talking about a 484% increase over 5 years. So this day, 5 years ago, Bitcoin was $10,000, $10,357.
Mm-hmm.
5 years ago. So that means
So 6x.
So that means if you would have just put, I don't know, we can use round numbers, about $10,000 in there and just let it sit. Didn't dollar cost average. You just let it sit and let it grow. It would now be worth over $60,000.
Mm-hmm.
But that same $10,000 in a checking account, savings account, under your mattress, in a shoebox will still just be $10,000.
But
less
spend
purchase
like
value.
what, 8,
There
9,000?
we go. And that's what we're trying to,
Avoid.
Yeah, so you want to have these things. That man on Twitter, and because it was a reshare, I couldn't find who he was on Twitter, but he did explain it and break it down in a very good way about saving in real assets. A lot of people out here trying to play the stock market. I see far too many people trying to trade options and they don't know what they're doing and they're losing money. People out here trading with leverage. They're getting liquidated. You see these big moves in the market of Bitcoin, and then you go look at SOPR, spent output ratio.
Mm.
Profit ratio. There we go. Sorry, guys. Spent output profit ratio. And you can see the charts over there and you can see who's selling, who's buying. And you see people getting liquidated. And you see these sharp drops sometimes. And you see sometimes these sharp jump ups because there's a squeeze. Too much leverage, too many options, too many levered options, all this stuff, and we're trying to say, let's be safe. Let's put our money away. Let's grow it. Let's put it in real assets, right?
Jay said that silver and gold looking like XRP 5-year chart.
Okay, I had to go overlay that 5-year chart.
Jay crazy.
I had to go check that out.
That's funny.
But yeah, and it's been a good Friday for us. I feel like it's been a good Friday, and for the people who, the family who are invested and just keep that diligence. And I had another thing I wanted to show you. Oh, one other thing I like to show people. If I could find it. Okay, so I'm gonna go to the USD to Mexican peso, and we'll try to do that. I don't know if it's showing. Did I click over?
Mm-mm.
Okay, see. Sorry, guys. I'm just here. I'm just a pretty face.
You said to the.
Yeah.
Wait. Hold on. Let me just see what he said. Oh, okay. So Let Freedom said, I love Gordon's analysis. I just saw Gordon analysis that made me laugh. BK Crypto said shots fired.
Yeah. Who did I say?
Because Cousin Jake said that silver and gold looking like an XRP.
Yeah,
chart.
somebody send me the XRP chart so I can check it out. So now here you go. You have what are we looking at here? A 1 month dollar to peso chart. And you see this sharp fall off right here in the
Yes.
last 2 days, man.
I was gonna say last day and a half.
And so what does that mean? And I use the peso just so that you have you can kind of see how it affects other currencies. So what does this sharp fall off mean? Well, we've often said that the Bitcoin and gold and silver have an inverse correlation with the strength of the US dollar.
Yeah.
So as the dollar is strong against foreign currencies, you notice that gold and silver kind of struggle and Bitcoin as well. But as you see, at least today, Bitcoin, gold, and silver shoot up today. What does the inverse do? The dollar strength against foreign currency goes down, and you can see it right there. That's just a nosedive. And that's sharp for foreign currency for our forex traders out there. You know, that's a sharp dive. Your chart should look more like this, a little smoother, you know, a little bit of volatility, but not this. That's sharp volatility. And especially for the
A
US
Friday.
dollar, which is the world reserve currency,
On
on a Friday against a very weak currency. That's a very sharp fall off. And there's articles that I had about it, and it gets real technical and about government and what's going on. A lot has to do with the unknown about who's going to be the president of the United States. So there's a lot of volatility
and uncertainty.
Uncertainty. There you go. She got the word. If you look at the 1 year chart, though, as we zoom out, look at that. Look at that. 1 year ago, the dollar and the peso 17.13, all the way up here to 19. That's a big move for a currency against another currency. So always understand that. But the main point of the chart, now you see this was times when the peso and the dollar is about 1 to 25. You've seen it drop down, but you see it maybe creeping back up. And there's many factors that deal with whether it goes up or down. But the main point that we are saying is the inverse correlation between real assets and fiat currency. You got fiat currency is going down as real assets are going up. That's why you want to have real assets, but you want to use your fiat currency, right?
Mm-hmm.
As a tool. It has a utility.
utility.
It always has a utility. I know a lot of people say cash is trash. I understand the sentiment.
Until they don't have any.
Yeah, I understand your sentiment. But
not that I have anything to offer to the conversation, but
go ahead, you go in.
There was an interview where 50 Cent was telling the story about when he got signed by Eminem.
Yes, indeed.
And he said Eminem offered him $1 million. And Dame was like, that ain't shit. That ain't no money. That's nothing. This is recently. And then 50 ends the conversation with coming from a man who doesn't have any money now and owes the IRS $8.7 million. Yeah. So this is why I tell people, you know, on a metaphysical level, frequency is everything. I've been doing a real deep dive on frequency. For those of you, I think Will Hopdy is my Facebook friend, but I don't know that anybody else is my Facebook friend. You're going to see note to self, yeah. Study this too. With the frequency, with what you put out, the things you say, and understanding that the gas that drives the frequency car is emotion. And y'all know Dame Dash from Harlem, real hyped and the teeth falling out and stuff.
Hey, come on, man. Dame's a homie.
You know, from putting that out there, right? Like that ain't shit and this ain't shit and that ain't no money and this ain't no money. You've now talked yourself into not having the money you need to pay the things that you need to pay and getting stuff auctioned off.
One more time. Let's do this one more time. Because
I was just using that as an example of
what you're
life
saying,
and death are in the power of the tongue, and those who eat its fruit.
Here we go. Go ahead, keep going.
Those who eat its fruit will be satisfied. A or B, you're gonna be satisfied. Oh yeah, he's gonna tell you this is his pet peeve, y'all.
It's a big pet peeve of mine because it throws people off. And I always like to remind people of that, right?
That wealth isn't a specific number. It is how much money you have after.
Yeah, so I'll go here, man. I'll just use the
actual
definition. So plentiful supplies of a particular resource.
Yeah, but that's the thing though, right? So that is the connotation people have that you have to be a multimillionaire in order to be wealthy.
Oh. Exactly.
When your wealth is just your wealth. Your debt to income ratio says that whatever that formula is, that's your wealth.
That's it. And exactly. And who put a number on wealth?
The elites do.
What makes you think you need to be a millionaire? What makes all these problems you see that I need a 6-figure man. Who put these numbers here
The elites.
that make you think that 6 figures is wealthy?
So the elites, aka the archons, is
Yeah.
metaphysical, right?
Mhm.
They feed off of fear, lack, scarcity, uncertainty, doubt, greed. And what they do is they put those narratives out there in order to get people to literally run that rat race and feel like they need more and work more hours and make more money. And the thing is, while you're getting broken off that little bit here, just imagine the person that you're working for, how much you're making for them, and then collectively, right? Even when we talk about superstars like a LeBron James, a Joe Burrow, what's the dude from Kansas City name?
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes, right? They make hella money per year with all of their endorsements and the this and that. But the owner of the franchise.
And let's talk about this. I want you guys, maybe you could fact check me, because sometimes my numbers get a little shaky because it's been a while. So let's talk about. Are they clowning me?
No. He was just laughing at something I said.
It's been a while, but I will tell you this story, and you can go look it up. So, as we understand, she said LeBron James. So let's talk about that real quick. Understand that when LeBron James was in Cleveland, Cleveland was it's a failing city. Let's put it like that.
I was hoping you wasn't going to say.
Yeah. So Cleveland kind of had an industrial town in the 60s, 70s back then, and the industry left the city of Cleveland. Mm-hmm. So when LeBron James came to Cleveland, there was a bustling downtown area. Mm-hmm. A lot of bars, a lot of restaurants, clothing stores, the sports stadiums, everything. It was a bustling community. Mm-hmm. And when LeBron left and went to Miami,
it was back to
nothing, right? Not only did when he left, it was back to nothing. Dan Snyder, the owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers, his investment, which is the Cleveland Cavaliers,
went from $1 billion valuation
down to $500 million. So he lost 50% of his investment just because LeBron James left, right? So we understand that. But here's the point. When LeBron James came back, his investment jumped up by $1 billion. And LeBron James got broke off his contract, whatever it was. I think it was maybe a couple $100 million. And so when we read that, we say, dang, LeBron got a whole bunch of money. But he got a couple $100 million for bringing this man's investment up a whole $1 billion, right? And then, if you guys know about the collective bargaining agreement, that's like the NBA's union contract. You are not allowed to negotiate with the owner about maybe if I come back, I get 20% of the franchise. You can't negotiate like that, because that would be more valuable to have 20% of the franchise than $200 million. But because all you could do is take cash.
Like that because over time, the players would have owned the franchise, and those who we're not allowed to mention wouldn't have it anymore. So they make sure that when they play this game, they play the game with what I like to call the bumpers, but that's not what I'm looking for.
And
but the bedside rail in place.
And people like LeBron understand that this game is being played. He deals with Nike and maybe Gatorade or something.
That's endorsements.
Endorsements, but he doesn't own the company. They pay him what they pay him, but how much money
are they making
off of being able to use his endorsement, his likeness, and stuff like that?
They always talk about what LeBron made. They always talk about what his endorsement deals are worth. They always talk about what his network is. What they don't talk about is how much they make off of him.
How much does Phil Knight make off of LeBron?
Right, with the
CEO of Nike. And but just Nike.
Is Jordan still with?
Jordan has his own brand now.
Okay, so the Jordans aren't Nikes anymore.
I still think he may have to pay Nike though, but I don't see that things I'm not sure about. People like Jay-Z, you'll find out if you look into Jay-Z. Yes, he's a billionaire, but you will see he's highly tied to white capital. Right. When you go out there and you say, well, what? He's a billionaire. What product does he have, or what does he sell, or what service to the people? He doesn't even make music anymore.
Influencer.
Right. So you see that he has $1 billion, but it's not like he's the CEO of Tesla. Mm-hmm. Right. So at least you can quantify kind of like, well, he's supposedly the richest man in the world. Well, he's the CEO of Tesla, a tech company.
It makes sense. Right?
Makes sense. But when you look at Jay-Z, like, what do you do?
Because
and I'm not trying to bang on Jay-Z. I'm sorry. I got off the
you just
rails a little
mentioned
bit.
how, But what I was basically saying is not that 50 Cent didn't realize the 1 million wasn't any money. He was grateful for it. And he made mention of that. He tells Jamaica Queens $1 million is a lot of money.
Yes, it is.
He mentally, intentionally had value for it. Yes. Did he continue to chase? Yes, he did. And he works really hard. But when you notice that people are going around, and I'm really just wanting our community to stop trends and following up after folk like kids saying that cash is trash. Right? Cash is an energy. It has a utility. And when you don't have any of it, you wish you had the trash in your hand. So it's just a way of saying, like, guard the gates, right? Guard your mouth, guard your tongue, right? Think about what you're gonna say before you say it, and don't just, walk around saying any which way or thing, because like I said, what we're trying to do is we live in a society, in an infrastructure where wealth is built, created, conceived from debt.
Yeah.
It's unsustainable. So you know what they have to use? They have to use your life force.
Mm-hmm.
Your life force. That's why it's called economic energy, in order to sustain it, because it's a dead thing. We are literally collectively Frankensteining the economy with the money.
Oh man, we're gonna talk about zombie
We're
corporations.
not, no, because we don't have time for
I ain't
that.
gonna
We
go
gotta
there for
roll.
that.
We gotta roll.
But what I will say is this: she just mentioned about being energy. We've talked about this on multiple occasions, where you're supposed to, as we use Bitcoin as the example, to use your economic energy and put it away across space and time so that you can unlock it at a later time.
But Bitcoin, in a sense, is a living energy. You can see it's living, it's thriving. When you look at its chart, it looks like the EKG of a living person, of a living entity. The way that it's mined and how it's been popping and growing and how it works is, it has the essence of a living thing. It doesn't have the essence of a dead thing.
And for my people, if you want to just get real technical with it, if you got the time, or if you have the personality type or the proclivity to do these things and be very technical, understand what we just said about Bitcoin. And I use the example, and I'll go right back to it. I said 5 years ago, if you put 10,000 in, right now it'll be 60,000 without touching it, without adding, without taking from it. So what you could do is go back and say, well, how many hours does it take me to make $10,000? How much do I get paid per hour to make $10,000? And then over time and space, when you unlock that energy, and then you have $60,000, you, in a sense, kind of get time back, because now you can say, man, I say you made $20 an hour.
This thing is growing and thriving instead of shriveling away as you're adding your life force to it.
So if it took you $20 an hour to make $10,000, and then you unlock it, which is a 6x return, so you divide 20 by 6, which gets you about a little bit over 3. Then it says, oh wow, I would only have to work 3 hours to get this money when I had to work, this amount of hours before. And that's where you kind of receive your time back, or at least are rewarded for the time that you spent. So, keep an eye on stuff like that. Purchasing power. It's not about just getting a 10 bagger and all that stuff and making money real quick. It's about the time that you spend earning this money to put it away so that you can unlock it later.
And if people had that type of consciousness to it, they would have more reverence for the money and not spend it or, deal with it in the way that they deal with it. Jake, I'm not saying anything bad about Dame Dash. I'm from New York, and mugs from New York like that typically shit on everything. That's just the way they talk. But it gets on my nerves because you're just talking. And I'm not saying that you're not saying anything worth learning, right? Dame is great for entrepreneurship motivation. Don't get me wrong. I think he did his boys the right way, right?
Yeah.
Whereas some of them didn't do him as good. Like, I understand all of that. But you talk so much that sometimes you talk yourself out of your
Yeah, I
blessings,
think with
right? And I'm just making a point that
Aaron,
even with the Bitcoin, he think Bitcoin ain't shit either. And you're
he
like,
I
but
think
it is, and you really could use it right now.
I think with the example
So
that Aaron used, if you guys remember, it was a bidding war for 50 Cent. And so Dame lost the bidding war.
yeah.
He lost the bidding war to Eminem and Dr. Dre. So he was salty. So in his saltiness, if you will, he wanna
Yeah, but Jake was saying that
discourage his blessings.
he wasn't saying it to say it like that. He was just saying that you're worth more than $1 million, which everybody understands in the conversation.
In the
What
context, yes.
50 was trying to explain to him is that, but it is something. Could I get more? Maybe, but it is something.
Mm-hmm.
And his reverence for it, and it shows you his work ethic, his dedication. That's why I don't think that 50 is a fantastic rapper. I mean, he's not your rapper's rapper, and he's not your rapper's favorite rapper. But, he understood that if I, have some type of reverence for this thing and work and do what I need to do, that I can build and build and build and build. So I respect that type of approach to it.
Yeah.
I am talking about the carelessness of the tongue. And I hear a lot of people in our industry make comments like cash is trash until your ass don't have no cash on the sidelines to dollar cost average when Bitcoin is popping. And I'm saying we get too quick to run and repeat. I call it repeat and regurgitate. I call it regurgitation, right? We're regurgitating talking points of people and stuff like that. And then when you start looking, you're like, oh, all right, you was talking all of that, and now you're in trouble.
A talking point that kind of pushed through our community, it might still be prevalent.
And it shouldn't.
And it shouldn't be, is the idea of being an entrepreneur, which is a great thing, right?
Fantastic thing. Wonderful thing.
If you got the entrepreneur spirit, you got the grind and the grit to do it. But
it requires skills.
But what happened was, then everybody was kind of like down talking people who had a job or a career as if, oh, you some kind of slave, and making it look like you working for somebody was a bad
that, right? I don't give a shit about that. But what I'm gonna say,
which was a bad narrative running through our community.
I don't care about that part. What I'm saying is those same entrepreneurs lack the skills to maintain their business because they didn't intern under someone. They'd never had a real job. They've never, they don't understand business operations. They don't understand consistency. They don't understand, a lot of the aspects that you would if you worked a real position for a significant amount of time. So all I'm saying is, right, stop talking crap. And don't regurgitate crap other people are talking.
And because
mind your tongue.
And the only reason I said that is because of the Dame Dash thing. It went viral when he was on Breakfast Club and he was just talking about being a boss and getting that DJ Envy.
And everything he said, that was
there was validity to it.
It was valid. Everything he said. But now that, let me tell y'all, I sat and I watched it. So Just Hilarious, she's on maternity leave, and there's another girl on there, and I'm not familiar with her. But when she was reading off, that he owes $8.7 million to the IRS, and he owed Rachel Roy $200 plus what he's owing, and they're talking about the auction. He got to auction off Rockefeller stuff now, which it shouldn't have come to that, because I don't think the people he did right by him, but nobody cares, right? Cares. So he got to deal with that.
That's the world.
But they're going to pan straight to Envy, and that was Envy's moment of retribution and smugness. So this is why I am saying, right, you don't get caught with egg on your face. Guard your gates, right? There is power and life and death in the tongue. And depending on the fruit that's being born from it, you're going to eat it, you're going to be full, and you don't want that on the death side of things. So don't be so quick to run around and regurgitate talking points that we hear in the community. There's an attitude in our community I'm not crazy about. If you have a newbie for Bitcoin and they have questions, If you're not the type that's willing to deal with a newbie, fine. Refer them to somebody who has the patience to walk them through it so that they can get on their feet too, instead of being real shitty to somebody who's just now coming around and trying to get their life together. They just didn't understand it before now. So, and it's not too late for anybody to start dollar cost averaging in Bitcoin, especially as that inverted yield curve is showing us that we are headed towards, and we've been saying this for at least the last year now, right? We're headed to quarter three. We've been saying this since quarter one. There's an economic winter coming. Winter is coming.
Winter is coming. It could be here.
You have time, grasshoppers, right?
It could be here.
To go on and get your, was it grasshoppers or was it ants? I think it was the ants.
It was the ants was working.
It was the ants who
chilling.
kept working to the last minute. They kept working and they had an overflow in their storehouse.
Abundance.
And the grasshopper was like, yeah, I'll get to it a little bit around when winter starts. And then when winter started to came early, he didn't expect it. He didn't have anything in his storehouse. He had to go crawling. Well, he doesn't have a tail, but he had to go crawling to the ants like, can you help me? So, we want to kind of get it out there, especially to the people who don't know anything about Bitcoin. Winter is coming.
So, and prepare. So
are you prepared?
So when winter is coming, for people who live in places that have
high cost of living.
Well, but I'd say like harsh weather conditions. So I'm trying to explain it. You prepare. Like, winter's coming, you go get your bags of salt, right?
Yeah.
You get your food in your house so that you don't have to be out on these slippery roads.
You got to replace your tires, four.
You got to replace the tires. Or like my dad used to have chains on his tires. That's showing my age because that's how old school that is. Or we used to live in Florida. Hurricane season would be like winter is coming. You got to batten down the hatches. You got to get sandbags. You got to put wood over your windows. So
you gotta have a generator.
You gotta have a generator.
Money. The gasoline.
So you got to be prepared when disaster is coming, if you will. And that's what we're saying. Economic disaster is coming. Be prepared. As prepared as you can be. I don't know if any of us could be 100% prepared. We'll miss some things. We'll be short on this. We'll be that. But have something in the spot where 19 hit, cats couldn't get toilet paper. Toilet paper was like currency.
I don't know why.
And that's toilet paper.
They got scared and bought up all the toilet. We didn't know nobody.
And that was I think that was just the thing they told us. But water was scarce. All kind of things were scarce. But
toilet paper especially.
To me, that was weird. But you know what? If you go to the store to buy some toilet paper and there's nothing there, it's a deal. Mm-hmm. Like, it's like, oh man, there ain't no toilet paper. So be prepared. We talk about getting canned goods and having them, keeping some canned goods on hand. Definitely keeping. We talk about all kind of stuff. I keep my survival kit, bug out bags. If you can get a bug out bag.
We've been telling you guys definitely every time you go to the store, buy one or two things extra: water, canned goods, Band-Aids. I said oregano and extra virgin olive oil in case you can't get antibiotics. Yeah. At least you have a backup. Yeah. Those kind of things. But unfortunately, you guys, he just wants to give you those updates. We do have to roll. We got to go drop off money for tournaments.
Do we?
Pick Sean up from work. And I'm starving.
Whose money is it?
I have to pay for the tournament. But we love you guys.
Well, hold on. I did read this. Now Bitcoin allows you to
speak how you want, hodl and be rich forever. Nobody can say nothing. You'll always be up. If they would have bought Bitcoin, everybody would still be silent. Yeah. But he didn't. And it's because he gives them, but he doesn't listen. And that's really what I'm getting at. I guess when you say if you have money, you can say what you want. But on a metaphysical level, you are a spiritual being and you really should guard your gates. Right. And that's just, I ain't telling nobody what to do. I am somebody's mother. I'm a lot of people's mom, but I'm not anybody's mom on here. But just as a spiritual being, I make sure that I try to keep the house covered by watching how we speak and our consciousness and our mindset. And it works because there's always plenty in our house, right? Yeah. I mean, Jake, we got Bitcoin. I ain't out here talking shit.
Yeah, and she
like that.
And I just would like to ask Jake what you feel about this. I know we got to go. But is it like an old saying or a mindset that making money is hard, but keeping it is harder?
Oh yeah.
And so, let me know what you think about that, because people will build up a fortune and then they'll, because that's when you got to keep it. And that's why you see these people, they put their money in these things like, treasury bonds and to keep it safe. And I don't know if you guys know, we go way back, but there was a time when you could put your money in a savings account and get some return. You could go get a CD and get up to like 10%. I remember getting 10% on the CD. And yeah, so when people get money and not necessarily flip it all the time, but just protect it. I made $1 million, so how can I keep it at a million or a little bit above? And then you see a lot of people who just lose money, lose money. It's like guarding your money is the hardest job, I think.
Yeah, protecting. And that's why rich people, like you said, they're not always really. They ain't trying to make no 10-bagger. They just want to protect the amount of wealth that
Yeah,
they
you've
have.
seen what Vladimir Putin did.
Right. Bitcoin is energy. Bitcoin is easy to keep. It's the only real money. I agree with that.
And so, yeah, we got to get out of here and go get these people. We wanted to let you know, I think we have a special live on Sunday.
We're hoping.
We got we're gonna have a guest on. We're gonna talk about money, as we always talk about. Well, we're gonna talk about what we call some of the energy of money, some of the reasoning behind money. We're talking about real money, not fiat currency. So we're gonna talk about that.
Sound money.
The reasoning behind the money, and what we call is going to be God's money, right? Mm-hmm. As it was stated in the Holy Scripture about what God's money was. And there's all kind of things. And I'm going to see if we can bring in Broken Money, if you guys are familiar with Lynn Alden's book. But she gives a great breakdown in the first few chapters about what money was, whether it was spices, whether it was seashells.
Or like what currency was.
But it was money to, like, you had a whole bunch of seashells, that was your money.
But they don't follow the characteristics of sound money. So that's the only reason why I would call it currency. Seashells, spices like turmeric.
Cattle.
Boy, you was rich in turmeric, you was rich.
Yeah, man, you had a whole bunch of salt.
Curry forever.
Cats was it was just
paprika, especially the pretty ones. Paprika.
And the silly part about it is, man, that's easy to see because we were all children and we knew what was valuable to us. We would trade little toys. I grew up, we trade baseball cards. Aaron talking about garbage pail kid cards. So
because we were girls. I mean, we were like at that age where the girls and the boys play. So I remember having a whole bunch of garbage pail kid cards.
Yeah, I don't know. That was kind of like a different. I thought that was like a different thing. But yeah,
But even lunch.
Yeah, and we just went over a thing. You guys know for sure that the young cats got Jordans and sneakers.
The sneaker has those that have resale value, and
so it's currency, it's money. You know the tenets of it as postulated by Aristotle.
Yeah.
So who taught him that?
Ancient Kemet, the mystery school.
Okay, I just wanted to get that out there
because money is energy, and that's why I'm like, let's dig into that because again. Our community isn't taught those things as children.
Yeah.
We grow up and it's like, figure it out the way I figured it out. And that's how you carry on generational money blocks.
Yeah.
And issues with money and mismanagement of money or great management of money because you did grow up where somebody sat and walked you through it.
So tell me the verse that you say about leaving an inheritance for who? Or who does what?
It is evil for a man to not leave an inheritance for his grandchildren. Not his children, but his grandchildren. Because again, we tell you the idea is that your children will benefit and be supported by you in this generation, but your grandchildren not necessarily. So the Bible says it's evil for a man to not have an inheritance for those grandchildren.
And that's heavy.
And then you have a lot of people tell you, like, I had to get it from the ground. So do you.
So, and the thing is.
And they just keep moving.
Yeah. And the last thing I probably say is the word inheritance is kind of like the word wealth, where you're like, well, did you leave me a house? You left me $1 million. If you left somebody something of value, that's what it is. That's the inheritance.
Now, the Bible doesn't say this, but I'm going to say this. I think it's equally evil to leave somebody something and not teach them how to maintain it, how to grow it, how just like leaving somebody a big,
Cultivator.
beautiful garden and they don't know the first thing about gardening, right? You are just all of the work you put into that big, beautiful, blooming garden, you just blowing it into the
Yeah,
wind.
and one of the things about inheritance that people will learn over time is that you will leave an inheritance to who you leave it to, but these people might not be into what that is. For example, if you left your grandchildren a farm, but they're not farmers,
But
it,
that's
it,
what
it
I'm
may
saying though, is
squander.
that you
It
left
may be,
something for them, but did not teach them what to do, how to maintain it, its value.
but what about when you teach them and they're just not interested in that?
Well, then that the evil's on them because I left you something.
But you know it happens a lot.
It happens all the time. But then when they're struggling in life, nobody feels bad.
Yeah, nobody cares
So I
about
done bought
that.
you a house. I bought you a house, and none of y'all are living in the house I bought y'all. Doesn't make any
So,
sense.
so some of the times when you talk about Bitcoin and silver, you could leave somebody silver. They might not have to be some kind of master knowledge of silver, but the value is the value, and they can sell it and get cash to do what they need for it. And you could teach them that part. They,
But if you taught your children like we spent time on out, what's the first thing Sean do when he get paid? Can you put this away for me? What are you gonna put it in?
yeah,
Can you put this in the sun exchange for me? Can you give me the difference? And we always lose on the deal because they're pesos, right? Whereas parents, so
I
we
think we're
do
winning now.
it. Maybe now that is
I
more
think, I
favorable,
think
but
we're
the
winning.
idea that that's the first thing he does before he even buys a French fry is like, okay, I can leave you something because I know you're gonna grow it and maintain it.
Mhm. But all your children
Aren't the same.
aren't the same. And usually, if you had built something of value, you have to really, and I don't know, people don't seem to like to do this, but you have to do an assessment of your children and see who's the best child to leave this to. And maybe it's a percentage. If you got 4 kids, you leave one, a majority percentage that you say this person will take care of that.
Hmm.
And then you leave people, this is your
Best
cut.
as you can.
This is your cut because you know it, man. You guys I always bring up The Godfather. And for my people out there who watch The Godfather, y'all know The Godfather knew that he had to leave what he had, and I don't even mean financially, just running things. And he knew it should go to the eldest son, but he knew the tendencies of his eldest son,
Hmm.
and he bypassed them, and it was supposed to go to his middle son. And once his middle son was murdered, remember, Michael, who was the youngest son, wasn't supposed to be involved. He went to college. He was supposed to get outside the life. And he got sucked back in because he had nobody to leave it to except him.
Hmm.
And so this is how you have to assess your children when you have something. It's supposed to go to the eldest son, but you're like, it ain't him or the eldest daughter, whatever. And you got to pick and figure what you got to do. These are decisions you make as you build your wealth, right? Because you spent your time, your energy, and stuff building it, and you got to pass it on. You want it to be passed on
And if you're
and
gonna pass
used.
it on to somebody responsible, just spend it before you go. Right?
No, don't
Don't
do
even
that.
go through. No, I'm serious. If you know up front like this is about to get squandered all the way down to nothing, you might as well just take what you've built and spend it and enjoy your life.
And we see people doing that.
I see people doing
We
that.
see
Now
people
they don't
doing
have any intention of leaving it. I think those kids would do something good with it.
He's given the
Right. So
opportunity.
that's
Yeah.
a whole different energy. But if you just like, I didn't teach you, I didn't raise you to do this, and I didn't raise you to do that, and I want to help, and I want to help, and you know that help is just being flushed down the toilet at every turn. Personally, I would just, all right, let me go on and enjoy it. I'm going to spend it here. Maybe I'll leave you a little something, but I won't squirrel it all away to give to you to squander
And remember
immediately.
when you have sometimes, and I'll just say this, sometimes we have sons and stuff like that, and you know how things could go wrong. They got women, they got
Right, I done
children.
left this for you, and your wife
It
done
just
walked away with it.
yeah, it gets sent down other ways
God, get
when
pulled up out the damn grave,
and
choke
so
her.
Aaron will talk about this more on Sunday, I hope, about lineage,
Oh.
because we don't talk about lineage. As you build your wealth, there is you got to talk about lineage. What line are you leaving your wealth to? For somebody, say I have 4 daughters and I built this wealth up, I have to leave it to a daughter, right? and she's going to be married to a man, and then the lineage will change. And you guys understand what I'm saying. And Aaron will talk about the importance of that because, you still have to leave it to somebody
Or just spend it.
and not leave it to you. Well, yeah, see, so that she'll talk.
But I'm saying if you have a hard problem, but I think your daughters you should take care of. Right? We have the sons, we go out of our way to raise them so that the money doesn't get squandered and that their children are taken care of in case we're not here to help take care of them.
Yeah. And so if you are pro lineage, some people are, and you leave your wealth and you want the wealth in your name, right? That's one of the problems when the name, it becomes an issue. But she's really good at explaining the difference between lineage, bloodline, where they cross over, where they're different, where they differ, and those are good things to understand for people who are building wealth for generations on top of generations.
Because statistically, right, men statistically don't divorce their wives. So if you had a daughter, yes, it is going to go down his line, but it's not the same. And you want to leave it for the son because that's your name, but she done walked off with it. She got 2 new men and spending up the money you done worked with.
Or even if she was above board and she had some children, the lineage will go down to those grandchildren who no longer have your name, if that matters to you.
But to me, it should go down the bloodline if, like I said, if you sat and taught them how to. Other communities, that's why the other communities do so well. Yeah, they learn that stuff as soon as they come out. This part of their collective consciousness is all they learn growing up. When we talk about bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs and the amount of money that flows through that rite of passage,
rite of passage,
those children know and understand what to do with it already at 13 years old. And if there's already some type of family business that's in there that's going to go to, they already know their whole life is already planned out for them. And that's just that community. You have other very wealthy communities as well. You got your legacy families. The difference between them and us is that by the time that child comes out the womb and can speak, they are being taught.
Yeah, and
but we gotta go back.
Yeah, one more thing, and shout out to Treat and because he always tells you this when people are arguing about who to vote for, whatever, Republican, Democrat. Remember that he says, and we can go double check this: the wealthiest subset or group of people in the United States are East Asians, if you will. I'm trying to be politically correct. We don't know that, and they don't, vote. But so there's a correlation. They have like the highest wealth with the lowest voting
turnout.
And so that because they come here and they just do what they do and it doesn't matter. We're in Mexico. We don't vote for the president. We don't vote for the mayor. It doesn't matter. We know if something happens, then we make moves accordingly. But we do what we do. Where everybody in the country is worried about who's going to win, who's going to lose. We're like, it don't matter. We just going to do what we're going to go about our business. And people in the United States should go about their business that same way, especially our community.
They're not giving you nothing anyway.
They ain't giving you nothing. It don't matter who win the election. This is not. I'm not a big political guy. It doesn't really matter. You better do for you right now. Now there'll be some different policies and things will happen. So when I say it doesn't matter, I'm saying that overall, the big scheme of things, the world just keeps rolling on.
But they always tell you to vote for all politicians are this. Just vote for the lesser of the two evils. You're still voting for evil.
Nah, and she's right because
you still voting for
my vote, her vote is valuable. So you got
not giving me anything.
You got to earn my vote, right?
And if you don't, you don't.
If you don't earn my vote, then you don't get it. It's like when you go to work, you got to earn your money, and if you don't, you don't get any. So you don't get my vote without earning it. And if all I got to do is pick from 2 people who can't or won't earn my vote, then that's fine.
But keep in mind too, when I talk about them people sucking your energy, your life force, you got to get up, get dressed, get in your car, wait in a line, wait in a line, wait in a line, wait in a line, wait in a line. Sometimes you get a hard time, then you see this and you see that, in order to get that done. And you've given a significant portion of your life energy for something that you If you're not passionate about it,
That first
why?
time we voted for
Obama, I said, I
Obama,
ain't doing this ever again.
and we waited in line, but it was like snowing, it was cold. We
2-3
went to like a little
hours
church
to
and
vote to make sure this black man get in office, only to not get nothing.
get nothing. Nathan.
Lesson learned. And we were young, right? That was 08,
I mean, we was in our 20s,
20,
so
but still young and dumb enough to know that we ain't gonna do that shit again.
you gotta give me something. You gotta give me something.
Not that type of time. But we love you guys.
Yeah, we'll be back on Sunday. Hopefully with a special show. We're gonna chop up some real good game, man, and with a brother who's very knowledgeable, and he's gonna go deep. He's gonna go deep, pause into some things. So if you guys are available Sunday, I know everybody's gonna watch football. I am too. Chiefs Bengals.
We gotta go.
All right.